Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I am Rochelle Butler of the San Joaquin Valley Clean Energy Organization. We appreciate you joining us yet again for the Fund It Fast Chats, where we take complex funding and financing concepts and we distill them down into bite-sized and actionable bits to help you get your energy efficiency projects done. So I can't believe how quickly the year's already flying by. On behalf of the SJV CEO and the Fund It Fast Chats team, I would like to wish you a very happy Valentine's Day. So we are pushing forward with our 2024 overarching theme of IDSM. More specifically, for the month of February, we are focused on a particular question. So we're asking ourselves this month, how do we do EE or energy efficiency better? One answer to that question, we believe, is OBF in I. We feel that OBF is a missed opportunity for so many of our public agency partners, especially considering that EE, it's not something that you can set and forget, so to speak. It is an ongoing activity. EE, when it's done right, it addresses the ongoing growth and evolution of any infrastructure in your portfolio as technology evolves. For example, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in depth later, but lighting is a great example of that evolution, right? We've seen lighting go from incandescent lamps to fluorescent lamps, and now we're on to LED lamps. So one of the most effective tools to remain in step with that advancing technology is OBF NI, or OBF non-incentive. I couldn't think of a better person to have this discussion with than Amanda Homa of Parakeet Project Development. Welcome to the Fund It Fast Chats, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Rochelle. It's really nice to be here again. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the program consultant behind Parakeet Project Development. So I specialize in the on-bill financing program. And together with my small team of project developers, we really love helping folks navigate the OBF application process from A to Z.
Awesome. Welcome again. I would like to start off by kind of defining some terms here. So much of our audience is already familiar with on-bill financing. If you watch the Fund It Fast Chats, you certainly are familiar with on-bill financing because we've talked about it a few times over the course of the years. But some people might not be familiar with all the different avenues you can take with OBF. So specifically, I'm referring to OBF with incentive and OBF non-incentive. So if I may ask, Amanda, would you mind explaining or maybe giving us the Reader's Digest of kind of the difference between the two?
Sure, yeah, I'd love to. So with OBF with incentives, we'll start there. If you can think about the concept of OBF with incentives, we're really looking at two separate programs that are kind of trying to coexist. So there's the OBF program, and then there's the incentive program. So what that means is when you're applying for OBF with incentives, you are trying to balance restrictions and compliance between both of those programs. It also means that you need to depend on the good communication between program managers of the OBF program and program managers of the incentive program. So as you can imagine, this can lead to potential conflicts in the approval process and delays in the approval process. And not to mention the fact that incentives and rebates, just by definition, they mean that you are applying for very specific qualifying measures. So that means you're limited in your scope of work and in your options for your project. Now, when we talk about OBF without incentives, we're talking about one super streamlined program with a very, very clear objective in mind. The goal of the OBF program is to provide funding for energy efficiency projects. So projects that reduce energy usage somehow, right? That opens the door to many more opportunities. And I love talking about OBF without incentives because PG&E specifically has mastered the administration of this program. They've made their approval timeline shorter, the process is streamlined. And just to give you an idea, I know we'll go into this a little bit later in our Fund It Fast chat today, but just to give you an idea of the timeline, if it's a simple lighting project, for example, you could get approved for installation within a month. That's super fast.
Awesome. Yeah, well, OBF NI is certainly where we're focusing our conversation today and for the 2024 program year. So expect to hear I'm telling our partners, expect to hear a lot more about this program. And the reason we're making such a push for OBF NI this year, particularly, is because we really want to encourage partners to take a holistic approach to energy efficiency. So there's a lot of opportunity out there outside of heat pump water heaters.
Mhm.
And we want to encourage partners to take advantage of those. So Amanda, would you mind kind of expanding a little bit on what those project opportunities look like with OBF and I?
Yeah, I'd love to. So again, because it's just energy reduction, right? OBF is meant to help you qualify for funding even where rebates and incentives don't exist. So just to give you again a little bit of perspective on how well this program is doing overall. This year, the CPUC, and because of that, trickled down to the IOUs, PG&E, et cetera, the CPUC has decided to expand their offering to make on-bill financing more accessible. Why did they do this? Because the OBF program is successful. They want more folks to be able to participate in it. And again, the goal is to reduce usage, right? And they want us to reduce usage, especially during peak hours. So those peak hours, you may have heard that term before. That's usually certain times of day, 4 p.m. to 9 p.m., summertime hours also. So how do they do this? Well, again, expanding the offering of on-bill financing, what it can include. And one of the things that's coming up this year that we're very excited about is the addition of energy storage solutions being able to be funded by on-bill financing. So not just things that reduce your energy, but for example, battery storage systems.
Okay, so I know a lot of people are going to be keying in
Mhm.
on that right there, Amanda. So I just want to ask the question though. Would you recommend waiting for this update from the utilities, or how would you suggest that partners navigate that?
So I would definitely not suggest waiting. And here's why. We are super excited about this addition, right? But all we know so far is that PG&E has said, yes, we're going to run with this. We're going to find a way to make this available towards the end of the year. We don't have a date yet. They're still fleshing out the details. They're not sure what kind of engineering requirements are going to be needed. Therefore, we have no idea what the approval timeline on a project like that is going to look like. And the big benefit right now of on-bill financing, especially for simpler projects, is that you can get approved quickly. And when you get approved for a project quickly, so we're talking again, maybe it's a lighting retrofit, maybe it's a one-for-one HVAC replacement. Those are the simplest types of OBF projects. When you get approved for those, it means you now have funding to implement those energy efficiency projects. You're now saving energy. You're now reallocating funds towards other areas that really need the budget. So it's, again, that holistic approach. You can use OBF to leverage other things that your agency is needing. So I would definitely say do not wait. Take advantage of those simple forms of on-bill financing now. And down the road, when they actually clarify what's going to be needed, how do I take advantage of energy storage systems? Yeah, do that down the road. There's no problem with that. I know some folks get worried, oh, I already applied for on-bill financing. Now I won't be eligible again. You will. There are always some things we need to help you determine, but you can apply for multiple loans if it's for a different thing, which this would be, right? So definitely start saving now, and then you can pave the way for more energy efficiency and other energy projects in the future.
All right. Yes, that's awesome. So if you don't take anything else away from this, start acting now or yesterday.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
what we would absolutely suggest. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about projects, right?
Mhm.
So I would love to encourage folks to take a look at their capital improvement plan, right? That's, the place where a lot of these projects kind of start and get their life from, or you can ask the SJV CEO do it. We would be happy to take a look through those publications or those, CIP plans and see, what opportunities are out there and evaluate those projects for you. Um, and see also, more importantly, to see how you can utilize OBF NI to get some of those projects completed. So, I'm going to lean on Amanda a little bit here. Can you talk a little bit more about the types of projects that qualify and maybe some of those easy wins that we
Mhm.
might want to focus on first?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we talked about the goal of on-bill financing. It's to reduce energy usage. So in theory, anything that does that should qualify for on-bill financing. However, it's important to understand that the engineering requirements behind certain types of measures, so certain things that you're trying to install, engineering requirements can really vary. And when the engineering varies, that means your timeline varies. That means you could be waiting longer to get approved versus if you work on something that's a little bit simpler to get approved, then again, you start saving faster and all that. So let's talk about those easy wins that you mentioned. The simplest thing that you can do is a lighting retrofit. That is by far the quickest turnaround time for OBF approval. That's the quickest funding for OBF approval, quickest timeline for actually starting to save on an energy project. HVAC one-for-one replacements are also a good option. They also go through a smoother application process. But I want to talk more about lighting because of something super important that actually took effect just last month. We did touch on this a little bit in our last Fund It Fast chat. It's Assembly Bill 2208. So this bill was signed into law in September of 2022, but it actually started going into effect in January of 2024, just last month. What that bill does is it prohibits the sale of screw-in CFLs. Now, that doesn't seem like a huge deal right now because screw-in CFLs you typically see maybe in your home, you use a little CFL. But this is just the first phase of the implementation of this bill. Starting January 2025, which is less than a year away, the sale of linear fluorescent lamps will be prohibited in the state of California. What are linear fluorescent lamps? If you are sitting in an office right now and you look up and you see T-bar ceilings, 2x4 troffers, those have linear fluorescence. There's the 4-foot T8 tubes. They're everywhere in schools, in offices. That's the most common type of lighting you'll see. Starting in January, you will not be able to find those being sold in the state of California. You will be forced to purchase LED replacements. That in itself is not a bad thing. However, I want to help folks understand what this means in a practical maintenance sense. So when you're replacing lamps one for one, you get a little burnout here, you plug another one in. That's okay if they're all the same type of lamp. But let's say you look up and there are 4 lamps in there, 2 of them go out, and now you need to buy 2 LEDs to put in there, and the other 2 are fluorescents. What's going to happen? Most likely your ballasts are going to burn out or your other lamps are going to burn out. And now you have a maintenance nightmare on your hands. So this is just another reason why lighting is the no-brainer right now. Taking action right now, using on-bill financing to get all your lighting upgraded at once, your maintenance personnel will thank you. I'm sure of it. And I know, Rochelle, you also mentioned kind of some of the qualifiers for projects. So I wanted to get ahead of or get out in front of some of the misconceptions. So I've had a couple of these are kind of frequently asked questions in terms of qualifying projects. So there's something called a CCA. That's a community choice aggregator. You might see a charge for that on your bill. You may have enrolled in a CCA to be part of your delivery service for energy. Is that okay? Can you still qualify for on-bill financing if you're part of a CCA? You absolutely can. Don't worry, that's not a disqualifier. Another thing that is kind of a common misconception with folks is they think, oh no, we already have solar on site, therefore we are disqualified from OBF. Is that true? No, absolutely not. So what is true is that if you do have solar on site, we highly recommend that you speak to us first. Let us analyze when was your solar installed, how much are you still pulling from the grid, certain key questions like that to make sure that you do still qualify for on-bill financing. And if you don't at this moment, how soon can you qualify? We can help you figure out all those things, but definitely don't think that having on-site generation is a disqualifier automatically. It's not. 9 times out of 10, we can still help you get on-bill financing. Another question that comes up a lot is, okay, hey, Parakeet, we have a school district. We really want to upgrade our lighting. We can't though, because we only have $250,000 of loans available, right? They hear OBF is capped at 250,000. Does that mean for the whole district? No. Does it mean for the whole public agency? No, absolutely not. In fact, PG&E really wants to help public agencies get on-bill financing. So they have a pretty simple way of you requesting additional funding, up to $4 million per premise. So we have successfully helped entire cities, entire school districts get all the on-bill financing they need, $0 out of pocket. And wow, look at that. Now they have LEDs everywhere. So the point is, don't get ahead of yourself thinking you don't qualify. Please talk to us. We'll help you know if you qualify and what pathway to set you on.
Thank you so much for that, Amanda. And it is really exciting to see all of the changes that have been happening with the program. I just want to key in on something you said a moment ago when you
Mhm.
said do the no brainer or the what
The
was
easy win.
yeah, the easy wins.
Yeah.
For some of our public agency partners, they do have a little bit of trouble getting certain OBF projects through their internal approval processes. And
Mhm.
I would suggest to those partners start with a lighting project. And once we can sort of prove that those projects work and they can kind of see how the program works,
Mhm.
and it becomes a lot easier to get additional projects approved. So I just wanted
Yeah.
to add that in there really quickly.
Absolutely. Dip your feet in, get your feet wet with lighting first, and everything else is going to look so much simpler once you get through that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Speaking of possible hangups, though, um,
Mhm.
that's what you were here to talk with us the last time you were on the Fund It Fast chats. I do want to touch base on something that we talked about before, something else that we talked about before, which is timelines. Um,
Mhm.
so I understand that some public agencies also have concerns about the OBF maybe delaying the timeline of their project. Would you mind kind of taking us through your experience with project timelines and maybe how OBF NI differs from
Mhm.
OBF with incentive?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, here's that concept, the big concept we want to understand. OBF without incentives means it's one program you're applying for, one set of rules, right? So that automatically makes things easier and simpler to process and navigate. But talking a little bit about specifics here. So I like to kind of divvy the subject up into internal kind of program timelines and then the external, which are actually the agency timeline concerns. So first we'll talk about the program timelines. So let's use lighting as an example, because again, that's our no-brainer, right? So let's say we have a lighting project and it is shovel ready. What do I mean by that? I mean, the audit has been completed. You know what contractor you're working with. You just want to get the funding now. We can get that project turned around and approved for installation in just about 3 weeks. That is super fast. In the construction world, that's lightning fast. So a shovel-ready project, 3 weeks, maybe push it to 5 weeks, depending on the pathway it needs to go through with on-bill financing. There are several pathways. Again, it depends on the scope of work, the scale of the project, things of that nature. But that's quick. That's really quick. Now, non-lighting project timelines, they go up from there, right? So now we're not looking at 3 or 4 weeks. We're looking at maybe a couple of months, maybe a little bit longer. This is another reason why doing the lighting project first makes so much sense, because you get the agency familiar with the process, they understand what's required, and then those other projects that maybe need some more engineering, they're going to be more understanding about what's involved, right? So, but again, doing that lighting project first, doing the things that are quick, 3, 4 week turnaround, you can start saving, you start reallocating budgets. It's great. Everybody's happy. Now, about those external timeline concerns, which is really like kind of internal for the agencies. So this is what we touched on. There are some hangups with agencies sometimes. They're not sure how to navigate the logistics of procurement. They're not sure how to get their finance personnel on board. Those things really can become a deterrent to on-bill financing. But we really want to encourage folks, again, to talk to us, and not just us Parakeet, but you folks at SJV CEO, and also Wildan. Wildan has a GK12 program they are dedicated to helping the public sector navigate on-bill financing. They have a wealth of knowledge and experience when it comes to procurement, when it comes to codes to use for the finance department. They can really help get everybody on board and feeling comfortable with on-bill financing. That's the goal.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's what we have for everyone today. Amanda, I really appreciate you coming back to hang out with us. I hope we can do this again sometime in the future. It's
I
always
hope so too.
awesome. So I would just like to let everyone know, all of our partners that are listening, the SJV CEO, Will, Dan, and Parakeet, we work very closely together to deliver programs and energy savings to you, our partners. So if you want to do a deeper dive into OBF, I highly recommend you check out some of the other links in our promotional email. You'll find the link to the recording of Amanda and my last Funded Fast Chat, where we talked about OBF hangups and how to overcome some of those obstacles with the program. There's a lot of really good information, so I would highly suggest you check that out. Please feel free to contact the SJV CEO. You can also connect with us on Instagram, on Spotify, and on YouTube. We try to make it as simple as possible. It's all at SJV CEO. So I want to give one last thank you again to Amanda for taking the time to be with us and educating our partners on this. We really believe in this opportunity. So that's why we're making it, educating our partners on it. So we believe in the program. We will be back next month with our next Funded Fast Chat. And until then, happy Valentine's Day, everyone.